Yeah, 7.
Oh, no, it's right on.
Morning.
Morning. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I will call the July NRHA Commissioners Board meeting to order. At the beginning, for folks on the line, good morning. Thank you for joining our Commissioners meeting. We are broadcasting this meeting live on a virtual platform. For your reference, all information shared today will be available online at nrha.us in the Board of Commissioners section. We will allow for public comment near the end of today's agenda, and virtual participants will have the opportunity to raise their hand to comment. They may also use the chat feature to make their comment as well. And I will share these prompt instructions closer to that time as well. With that, I will now make the sort of welcoming remarks. Again, our agenda today has 2 presentations. We will discuss the current work and design concepts for the Tidewater and CNI housing plan, and discuss input from the July 10th community outreach event. Also, Ela Smith will present NRHA's funding request to the Hampton Roads Ventures. Please note, with the expiration of the Governor's State of Emergency Order, the August Commissioners meeting and all subsequent meetings will be in person and open to the public. As such, the board meetings will no longer be available over our virtual GoToMeeting format starting in August. So again, August, we will all need to be here. There will be no virtual attendance. Also, I'm going to report that on June 22nd, City Council reappointed Dick Gresham, Alfonso Albert, and Joe Dillard to serve on the Board of Commissioners for terms beginning August 1st through August 1st through July 31st, 2025. We certainly appreciate the commitment and expertise each of the reappointed commissioners bring to the board, and thank them for their continuous service to the agency and the clients that we serve. And now I'll invite comments, if any, on the minutes from the June 10th board meeting. Do we need to do them separately? Yes. For the June 10th board meeting. Any comments?
On the minutes or comments?
Well, any comments on the minutes?
I'll make a motion, we accept them.
Second, please.
Second.
Mr. Gresham? Ms. Arrington?
Aye.
Mr. Dillard? Ms. Puryear?
Aye.
Mr. Musacchio?
Aye. Also, any comments on the June 24th board meeting?
Again, I make a motion, we accept.
Mr. Gresham? Ms. Arrington?
Aye.
Mr. Dillard? Ms. Puryear?
Aye.
Mr. Musacchio?
Aye. All right, we'll move on now to the executive director's comment.
Thank you, Chairman. Good morning.
Technical issue, I just want to clarify this real quick.
For folks tuning in, please mute your line on your end to avoid background noise. So all NRHA staffers and presenters, please mute your line unless you are speaking.
All right, thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. I just have a few items I want to go over. First item being that at the request of the board a couple of meetings ago, you attached the staff to seek a marketing firm because of some of the publicity and public comments that were being made about the St. Paul's Tidewater transformation, and we have done that. The firm's name is Invariant. They're out of Washington, D.C. They're highly qualified public relations a number of housing authorities in similar situations and choice neighborhood programs, and dealing with all of the public scrutiny that comes with those type of projects that we have experienced ourselves, and they're well equipped to be able to work with the board and staff in promoting a positive image that we'd like to be able to portray for our efforts in the C&I transformation project. We actually have a kickoff meeting with them. I think it's next Friday, Jen. We have a kickoff meeting just to get acquainted and talk about some of the next steps that they'll be doing. I think they've already started some conversations with staff on sort of an outlining a plan in terms of their approach to do some marketing around the Choice Neighborhood Initiative that we have going. We'll be reporting, just keeping you abreast of what those efforts are. I'm sure there may be an opportunity along the line for them to be able to come in front of the board as well. So I just want to let you all know about that. And this next item is also related. During that time when we were sort of being besieged by bad publicity, we had the Bloomberg article, we had the video, disrupt this mantle video, and there were some other newspaper articles about that we weren't really doing a good job of providing choice to a lot of our residents. So we decided to take a more proactive stance internally, and so what we did is we started to work through the neighborhood task force to reach out to civic groups and other groups, sort of promote the message and it was our way to dispel some of the myths that were going on and some folks misunderstanding about the intent of the Choice Neighborhood Program and what was going on with the Tidewater Gardens revitalization. And so we've met with a number of groups. We've met with the Downtown Norfolk Council. We've met with Ocean View Civic Group. We've met with, again, Fairmont. And we also have plans to meet with East Little Creek Civic Group. We have that coming up. And we also had the opportunity to meet with a group called the Christians United for Social Change. And we actually had a couple of meetings with them, and they were very engaged and asked a lot of questions about, what we were doing, trying to get an understanding. Is this, what we were doing, is this somehow related to what was going on in the past? We understand that it's sort of tainted, the efforts that the city and housing authority are going to sort of tainted by a lot of things that happened in the past in terms of, under the umbrella of what's considered gentrification. And so we had the opportunity to really, at least to the extent that we could, to let them know that what we're doing is really disassociated from anything related to the past. And we just tried to let them know that everything we're doing is transparent, it's open. These are the things that we're doing to the residents, which was their primary concern. Make sure that we were providing services to the residents, that they had all the support they needed, because it's in some cases it's really a difficult transition to move from a place now going into a different community and then still having an option to come back or stay where you are. So there's a lot of things, a lot of moving parts to that. And this group was really concerned about what was going to happen to the residents, and we were able to engage them in a number of questions. And at the end, they really thanked us for being open and honest with them about what we were doing and working with the residents in the whole revitalization process. And then as a result of that, they wrote something, and I think it was part of an op-ed a couple of days ago. There was an article that they wrote. It was basically saying that citizens must keep an eye on St. Paul's redevelopment project. And basically, with their understanding of what the project was about, they were able to say that what we're doing, they felt that we were making an honest attempt to really change the lives of people, but they were just wanting to make sure that if there was any way that they could help, they're available. And they also said that they're going to be watching to make sure that we're doing what we said we were going to do. But in the end, they appreciated the fact that we met with them over several nights, and all of the questions that they had to ask, we were able to answer.
Who are the leaders of that group?
I know the person that I had contact with, I forget her, Ophelia Watt was the primary contact, but there were a host of other people that were involved in the group. And one of the things, even we had the opportunity to promote the Housing Choice Voucher Program, because one of the primary reasons why we wanted to reach out to the civic group, those civic groups that were in the high opportunity areas, to sort of promote the Housing Choice Voucher Program. And we had that opportunity. One of the things that this group said that they would do is they would use their connections to actually reach out to landlords that were affiliated with their group and a group of churches that they were familiar with. We sent them information, and they said that they were going to try to promote housing opportunities amongst the landlords that they knew within their coalition. So all in all, it was positive. I think from the respect that, given everything that's going on, given the history and everything, that they were supportive of our efforts in this revitalization effort. So I just wanted to give you a little background on that. And we are continuing, like I said, to do outreach and try to promote the project and provide as much information as possible in regards to the redevelopment transformation effort. One thing, and this is also related to, some of the negative publicity. If you look on page 74 and 75 of your packet, one of the things that when I was going out and talking to staff, one of the things I heard is that staff was upset how they were being portrayed, and some of the primarily that disrupt and dismantle piece that was done in terms of, there seemed to be a lack of maintenance response in a couple of instances that, we know that it was mischaracterized. So I said that I thought it would be a good idea to highlight, some of the things that our staff does. So we created this, our communications department created this profile of the staff, so you get an idea that, they're human too. They have they're motivated to do a really good job with the organization. And when it comes to the residents really having an image of the organization, our property managers and our maintenance folks are really the face of the organization when it comes to people having a sense of how really committed we are to working with the residents. So we thought it was important to sort of profile and highlight our staff, and we'll be doing that throughout all of our communities. I just thought that was a way to sort of help address some of the negative publicity that we were taking around that time. Let folks know that our staff are really committed to do the work of the authority, and committed to working with the residents and resolving the issues that they may have.
Can I stop you for one moment, please? I am without my laptop, and I don't have a paper version of the agenda.
Yeah, there's one. We printed some for you.
But I wanted to make a point
to
something you just referenced. Thank you so much, sir. I think a lot of our miscommunication comes from us speaking around things and not directly to or about things.
Okay.
And I don't want to mischaracterize somebody's motivation for saying something, but I know it would help me to know what I'm responding to specifically, or what I shouldn't be doing, or what I should be doing to support staff, what I shouldn't be doing that may demoralize or as opposed to, mean, there's just too many possibilities when you know what I mean?
Okay.
So if it doesn't put anybody, on the spot, I don't wanna name somebody and say so-and-so said so-and-so, but
Okay.
I think it may be possible, if you can, to reference some things specifically, so we'll know exactly what the staff are talking about. Not so much for me, but period.
Okay.
You know what I
Some of
mean?
the things I'm hearing is why we were
Yeah.
doing the profile,
Right.
like the mischaracterization.
Absolutely, that's right, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah, I know we had talked about it before, like the one maintenance issue that was highlighted in the video, which
Right,
it was not the case. It wasn't the case at all in terms of what, the resident has some responsibility, even as far as the smoke detector going off, the
Right.
residents are responsible to take care of that.
right, yeah,
And there was never any urine, all those kind of things that,
Sure.
staff felt like that was not the case. Staff had responded numerous times even before then. And there were some issues, but they were regular maintenance kind of issues.
Yeah,
It
no,
was
I
not-
see that,
It
too.
wasn't because of just total neglect and we weren't responding.
and I totally see and understand that.
Right, so anyway, that's what we thought it would be a good idea to not only just profile the Tidewater staff, but all of our departments.
Yeah.
The ones that interact with our residents. I think that was really important.
Thank
To them, okay. And then the last thing is that I know over the past couple of days, we've had a couple significant events. It's really unfortunate. It's sort of similar to what's going on nationally, but as far as we're concerned, these kind of incidents are really hurtful in terms of, especially the ones that anything involving, any life-threatening kinds of issues that any of our residents may sustain. So they're really hurtful, and you try to get an understanding of the reasons, why they happened. We had one yesterday at Young's Terrace that we don't have any further information, but and it was a non-resident, but they sustained, life-threatening injuries, but from gunshots, but we don't have any additional information. And then, earlier this week, we had the 3 youth that were shot. And unfortunately, the one that passed was a young man who was a resident, family member. And, we still don't have any information. I know the police is still, the investigation's ongoing, but we don't have any other information as to how it all transpired. There's a lot of rumors going on about what happened, but we're not at liberty to really, I don't think that we should really state anything until the police have done their investigation. Staff did make an attempt to try to reach out to the family, but they thought it best that they did ask friends, and from what they heard, the family's not really in a position right now to want to engage with any of our staff at this point. We did make them aware through their friends that we are available to assist in any way we can. But it's just, like I said, it's really unfortunate that, and definitely, to what's going on nationwide in terms of now it's being labeled as a crisis and availability of weapons and, just a lot of different things going on, the youth inactivity, you still got the pandemic, and then you just got the rise in violence and just the gun availability. So there's just a combination of things that's really creating a bad situation. And so one of the things that, and it's really good that the National Night Out is coming up. It starts in August the 3rd. And I know that the city doesn't have any events planned per se, but the Housing Authority will be having events in our communities and our mid-rises. And it's really to work with our public safety officers to try to build a better partnership in our communities, and then also try to build partnerships that will communities in terms of being safer. And I think that the timing of that is really critical, and that we do what we can to make sure that we continue with that partnership. I mean, we know that even with the NPD, they're undergoing some things where there's in terms of recruitment and things like that. They've even mentioned to us that they're having problems covering some areas because they just don't have the manpower. And that's pretty much nationwide. You hear about what's going on with the police force and be able to staff, and they have their short staff, but then you have an increase in crime, so it makes it really difficult to be able to address crime in the areas, in certain areas that are more prone to having violent acts. So, but we still try to do the best we can to forge a good relationship with our Norfolk Police Department. As a matter of fact, I think next Monday we routinely have meetings, and we had a meeting already previously scheduled that we're going to have on Monday, and sort of hopefully get some better ideas on what's going on in the grounds, especially in our communities. And of course, we always make ourselves available to assist in any way we can to do our part to make our community safe.
Ron,
Yes.
is Karen Rose seeing this as being gang events in any way? And I think for the record, I think we all should lament the deaths, but also the trauma that's being caused to these communities. And whether it's Grandy or Diggs or Young, those communities are now even more traumatized by just this level of violence.
Yeah, we haven't heard anything. I mean, there's sort of, hearing what people say, it's a possibility, but like I said, that we haven't heard anything officially from the NPD's investigation, but that's sort of out there that there's some gang related to another community, another one of our communities. Possibility, but like I said, there's nothing really official yet that we can comment. Yes.
I think my comments are going to be like this. I know you was going to do a presentation to Hampton Road Ventures.
Yeah.
And I looked at it, and it's like $58,000 for community engagement. The large ask is $700,000. But in community engagement, you have public safety. I think as NRHA commissioners right now, we should consider probably bumping it up for public safety and community engagement, because it will be more than just a national night out to help assist in curbing the violence, and not just our housing projects, but in the city of Norfolk itself. Then my second comment kind of goes back to something I think is positive, Ron, as you were talking in Alfonso Bay comments. If I said Alfonso has on a white shirt and Dick has on a blue shirt, it doesn't matter if it's true or not, because we're going to argue about it and not have you off focus of what you're supposed to discuss. Yeah. So that's how I felt about when you talk about what's right and what's wrong in the maintenance facility, us putting out statements to counteract or have a counter argument to what happened in that video. But what I do want to praise you for is I saw that Jennifer and you, in the communication internally that you have done in this packet, is outstanding. Like from the basic of promoting telework, getting out to the community, putting up basketball hoops. Right. That's the proactive message that needs to be pushed internally. And we keep putting out messages saying, okay, no, they were wrong about maintenance. No. But if we tell our story like you guys are building a foundation now and continue to do that, it doesn't matter what the opposition says because you're on the right page. Yeah. So I do want to give you praise for that. And my last thing, and I know Delphine's going to probably throw a pin at me, I know all the commissioners have to be in person for meetings, with the exception of some laws. We need to have a conversation about keeping it virtual for the public, because I'm comfortable sitting in this room with everyone here, but virtually to have people attend publicly. I looked up there, Jennifer, and one time it was 29 attendees. We never had 29 people sitting back there. So I think that engagement for people that can't be here, maybe not even to make comments, but be able to watch just like this in this format as it is now, and possibly chat should still be on a
that's something that, if that's something that commissioners would like for us to continue, we will, okay.
I mean, I don't think we need to take a vote on it, I think.
Yeah, okay,
The sense of the board is that works for us.
okay.
There's a cost associated with it,
That's what I
but
figured.
there's no issue, as long as you are meeting in person and we're meeting all of the other requirements, there's no issue with having the public being able to participate remotely. It's just that there's a cost associated with it, and Jen can figure out the details.
Okay.
I have a question. When, these events happen in the communities, they say that we have like a mental board to go out and help the communities. Is that true? Like someone to go out, a board of people that help the community with, the event that went on?
Like trauma counseling?
Trauma counseling.
No, we do have staff that will help facilitate if there's a need for like counseling. Our staff does do that for the impacted families, and we also do that for staff. For example, like what we had over at Young, that was something that happened in the middle of the day, and I think some staff may have witnessed some of the shooting, and I know that HR usually follows up in incidents like that with our staff, but with the residents, we do provide an outreach to them to see if there's anything that we can help as far as any needs that they may have, or if there's resources that we can help facilitate to help them through any transition period. But as far as, you mean like a community-wide effort, we have had conversations with, I think there was Mr. Muhammad that was to stop the violence when he was out there. But we usually try to stay in contact with him in terms of what's going on in the community and some of the things that they're doing to work with the overall community.
Yeah.
So we try to stay engaged with the community groups that help promote nonviolence in our community.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, I think in the past, Ron, a number of times, commissioners were notified that a certain thing was happening.
Yeah.
And that if you wanted to come by and attend,
Okay.
that kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, that's the one that happened yesterday. That was just something we.
No, I'm just saying in the past,
Yeah.
that just let you know so that
Okay.
if someone would go by, because I remember we used to routinely go to each office and, say hello, appreciate what you're doing. I think that's the kind of thing to hook on with the, we care about you and the work that you're doing, kind of thing. So.
Okay. Yeah, we can do that. Make sure that you're all aware of that, and if any, especially if there's anything related to like the National Night Out, we'll let you all know what events are planned, so you be able to attend. We would welcome that.
Okay. Other comments, commissioners?
I would just comment that the picture on page 77 is a good picture.
Which one is that?
That's with your skills, isn't it?
Well,
You're flexing there?
One of the commissioners, sort of astutely noted that, the whole intent was for me to play like one-on-one with Messiah, and they said, well, what happened to those, the video of that? And then they said, well, did you get smoked or something? And I pretty much had to admit to that, and I made sure that it didn't see the light of day. So that picture, that was the only picture that survived. You didn't want to be an old, especially the executive director, being burned. Yeah, get burned with smoke.
Ron, where do we stand on the procurement process on that the marketing campaign?
I talked about that. We did procure a firm called Untitled.
Very good. I'll catch up with you later.
Okay.
Thanks.
And that's all.
Okay. Again, commissioners, other comments? All right, then we'll move on. On page 14 of your packet, and it's finance and administrative operations. Anything on that, folks? Okay, hearing nothing, then I think we'll move on to the Tidewater Gardens Choice Neighborhood Initiative Transformation presentation that I had talked about earlier. And Jen, if you'll do the magic. And again, that begins on page 18 of your packet.
And good morning, Commissioners. This is John Majors. So we've got a combined subset of our design team. We've got Tom Gallus and Troy McGee from Torty Gallus, and then we have William Billy Milligan from the Livis Group, which is that name may sound very familiar to you. Livis is a Norfolk-based MBE firm, and they are a part of our design team. So this is, we're really excited to be able to bring, Torty Gallus, who's been involved in this project from the very beginning, as well as Billy and his team, right from Freemason Street. With that, just want to say,
John, I'm sorry
Yes.
to interject. Can I just ask you to speak a little bit louder? We're having trouble hearing you here in the boardroom.
Yep, is that better? I'm talking directly into the microphone. Is that better?
Yep.
Yep, we'll take it. Thanks, John.
Okay, good. All right, so very quickly, just from a context perspective, I think you're all very familiar with blocks 19 and 20, which are going to be breaking ground this year. And let me just say very quickly, we're in discussions as well with a branding firm. So soon we will have actual names for all of these individual projects. We won't be referring to them forever as blocks 19 and 20 in the such. And then blocks 17 and 18, I think we all know that that's the southern side of the transit station. The 9% tax credits have been secured for block 17. We are just underway now with the 4% application for block 18. And then what we're going to show you today is the Tidewater Gardens blocks. And these are the larger blocks where the housing is sitting currently. And the benefit to the larger blocks is that the larger sizes allow for more diversity of the actual housing types. You've got just more room to work with there. And those larger unit sizes would be up to 5 bedrooms in some cases. And it also allows us the ability to incorporate some of the things that, we've heard in terms of feedback from the residents and community stakeholders. So one of the things is, again, that diversity. There's going to be a little something for everyone, right? So you'll see in some of the comments, some people said, well, gosh, I really like this type of building. Some people said, I don't like that type of building. So there's going to have a little more variety, which is going to be a real benefit for everyone. You'll see green space and tot lots, lots of, family-oriented places for kids to play and that sort of thing. And then you'll also see those bigger townhome style units that I think a lot of residents have been, gosh, I guess I've been involved with this project 2.5 years, from the very beginning. Saying, when are we going to start to see some more townhome style units, more so than just the the elevator buildings with corridors? So really excited to share all of that with you all today. So with that, I will turn it over to our expert design team, Tom, Troy, and Billy.
Well, good morning, everyone. This is Troy McGee, and just want to thank you all for having the opportunity to meet with you all this morning, and look forward to meeting with you in person if possible in the near future. As John pointed out, we've all been involved in this process. Even before there was a CNI, even though the photograph that you see here is one of the renderings that was from the CNI process, but this is where continually have been involved with the stakeholders to create a concept of being able to restitch Tidewater Gardens back into the larger neighborhood. And so, as he pointed out, just to orient everyone in this particular image that you see here, when he was talking about blocks 19 and 20, in this area here. Hopefully you can see my cursor, as well as 17 and 18 here. This is St. Paul's Boulevard. So it's basically, it's an aerial image where you're looking south. You know, Church Street is here. The proposed extension of Freemason Avenue going east-west is along here. And what you see in the red boundary is the Tidewater Garden, or the portion of the Tidewater Garden area that John was mentioning earlier. These are just a few images, as you know, because you were there as well, with the charrette that we did in July. But again, even before the charrette that happened in the July 2018, there have been previous efforts of, you know, working with the community to make sure that we hear the community, the stakeholders, and be able to move forward with a plan that benefits all. And some of the earlier comments that you see here, which, as was mentioned earlier, there was a presentation or meeting that was done on, just recently, July 10th. And one of the things that I hope we'll all see is this consistency in the comments that we have received from the residents and the other stakeholders, just regarding you know, what really makes a community and what they would like to see in their community, such as areas for children to safely play, trees for shade. I'm not going to read every one of these, but also units directly across from the park space, being able to, that ties into having a safe place to play, to be able to visually see your children and feel secure that they're in a safe place. They don't want a design that looks quickly looks outdated or looks dated. And then facilities to support fitness and lifestyle goals. And then just looking at the larger consideration of context, we have to be respectful of just nature. We know that there's climate change that's occurring, where you have, you know, sea levels rising, and you have, you know, ground that can be sinking in some cases, or just really just looking at the existing infrastructure and how to improve that, since we're looking at this larger transformation of the community, and just being respectful of just what happens with the environment, and being able to live in harmony with the environment. Talked earlier about the street framework and how that needs to be tied in with a larger community. One of the things that we've seen in the past that can occur is that when urban renewal happened in the past, it was communities that were created, in particular public housing communities that were cut off from the larger context. And so this is where you have an infrastructure. And when we talk about a street framework, it's not only about the vehicles, but also pedestrian oriented, so that everything is just tied together into the larger, greater community. And then also, as John had mentioned earlier, about having housing plans, housing types that fit the CNI housing plan, where you have a variety of housing types for people to live in, whether it's townhomes or multifamily, being able to give that type of choice, as well as a mix of incomes. And because as we know, so the thing is that we all want to achieve here is it's not only creating a pretty community, but it's one that supports the residents in the community as a whole, and have those opportunities to rise in income as well. And that leads to bullet point number 4 that you'll see here, is providing a mix of uses through employment opportunities, job training, and things of that nature.
And thank you, Troy. This is Tom Gallus. Good to see all of you again. And you're seeing on the screen sort of an existing aerial of the Tidewater Gardens neighborhood. and looking to the northwest this time. And so to your right is the Tidewater Drive, and to the bottom is City Hall Avenue. And what you really notice about this aerial is the kind of existing barrack-style housing that sort of is laid out in a cookie cutter fashion in the current neighborhood. And let's go to the next. And so by contrast, what we're envisioning is a way to transform the neighborhood with a rich mix of housing choices and spaces to meet the diverse needs of the families who will live here, with bungalows and townhomes and small apartments at a range of scales and styles to meet the varied needs of the families of all sizes in the community. I'm going to show you now how we've distributed this range of housing types and spaces throughout the neighborhood. Next. So here you're seeing a master plan of the Tidewater Gardens neighborhood. You're seeing the blocks up above that, just to orient you, that Troy mentioned, 1920, 17, and 18 up there in the upper left, and Freemason Drive is now extending all the way through to Tidewater Drive on the right there in the upper right. What we hope you notice is that this is planned around a grid of streets and blocks that will make those connections that Troy was talking about. This is going to feel like a neighborhood. And it really is covering the largest part of the land mass of the existing Tidewater Gardens neighborhood now, with a mix of housing types that are distributed throughout the neighborhood. And maybe you can see the different color housing types on the right here. We've got 4 different architects who are working to create this blend of housing designs that we're going to show you. Our firm, Tortigalis & Partners, Landon Bone Baker Architects out of Chicago, WPA and Livus Group, both out of Norfolk. And so we are working collaboratively to design this range of house types so that you do get, instead of one hand designing it all, it really is a diverse group of people. And the amenities that are distributed throughout also are located very purposely throughout the neighborhood to offer the needed amenities to the community. Let me walk you through now next each of these housing types. And with each housing type that I'll describe, we've highlighted where they are distributed throughout the neighborhood. So hopefully you can see in this first example, the light green are the single-story attached bungalows. These are primarily housing for accessibility for families needing single-story living distributed throughout the neighborhood. And then also in the kind of rose color, something we're calling a carriage house, which are individual family homes that are connected, usually in pairs. So there are 2 with parking below them. Next, you can see, as Troy mentioned, the townhomes that are distributed throughout the neighborhood in the light blue, with 2, 3, 4, and 5 bedroom configurations that for the range of family sizes. And this is also an eclectic style to create a unique and contemporary neighborhood, and to give each family that idea of house as a mirror of self, their own identity, their sense of pride in where they live. And we talked about that with the residents that we met with at the block party on Saturday. You also see in the dark rose color, the manor homes, which are essentially very small apartment buildings that look like large houses that sit mostly on the corners to provide bigger buildings on the corners, and then transition to the townhomes sprinkled throughout. Next, let's go to we also have walk-up apartments and elevator apartments. These buildings in the walk-up version are also in prominent locations that will provide buildings that essentially anchor the corners of our community. And then the larger elevator apartment buildings in blocks 16, 9, and 6, as you move down Church Street, these small apartment buildings help to transition from sort of what we're calling Main Street, which is Church Street, to the lower density housing types in the neighborhood to the right there. And then, and then next, what we're essentially having built here is we've created a strategic placement of community buildings and community green spaces that form a resilient park network that some of us have referred to as an emerald and sapphire bracelet that wraps around this community and provides neighborhood scale amenities within convenient walking distance of each home. Billy will walk you through the next step.
Thank you, Tom. Good morning, everybody. Next slide. Tree safe areas. We are maintaining the mature trees along Holt and Mariner Street, plus other various areas of neighborhood development. As shown, there's existing examples of trees and a case study where the trees will be maintained along those streets. Next.
Can't hear. So Billy, if you could just speak up as loud as you can, please. We're having technical issues here and can't hear you very well.
Okay. We're developing an active and safe community in which natural elements will be enhanced and maintained as shown. We'll be utilizing water features in natural floodplains, bike trails, tree preservations, and options for activities in open areas, and healthy food resources as depicted in this collage of pictures. Next. On blocks 4, there will be a community facility, and blocks 6 and 9 will provide neighborhood serving retail commercial amenities. These are a few case studies that could be located within the communities of different activities. Some of these case studies are within our Norfolk context, such as the Selden Market examples. Next. Oh, I was glad and honored to attend our community engagement. Of course, we attended the engagement with People's First Block Party on July 10th with residents of the community and stakeholders and received feedback. We presented this presentation along with pictures as shown, and we had red and green dots for the community to select elements of design they liked and disliked. I'm not going to read through all of these though, but there's likes of the variety of colors of house. Some of the residents felt that the brick feels secure and permanent. The like of modern and traditional images of the buildings, dislike of office looking facilities in a variety of building types, but don't want it to look too busy or crowded. Next. Continued on to the community engagement. The great thing about it is we had an interaction of all ages. Of course, I like talking to kids because they're honest of what they see. you know, and as well as community amenities that were added, community labs, music classes, yoga and gardening. You know, it was really interesting in talking to the kids out in the community, and you know, we were trying to provide a healthy community, but some of the dislikes may have been the vegetables and the foods, the green foods of that source. But we're trying to integrate a healthy community and food choices also. They like the both single story and the multi-story units. And, you know, there's a strong desire of home ownership options. And as well as the green spaces, you know, one of the dislikes that I personally saw was actually the concrete. You know, there was a red dot on the concrete. So, you know, the implementation of green spaces and the flow of variety is a plus. Next.
Thank you, Billy and Tom. So just to, you know, bring this to a conclusion and just a quick, you know, final few comments. So we hope with this presentation, and as you can see from the feedback that we received on July 10th, is that there are a couple of things. One, you can see, as I had mentioned earlier, you know, as we've been in this engagement process for many years, the comments that we received from the residents and just some of the things that they're looking for, you know, we're still seeing them today, and we hope that, which is good, because we're on the right track, I believe, and we hope that the designs reflect that, where you see the variety of housing types, not only in the look, but in the choices of, if you want to live in a townhouse, you have the opportunity to do so. If you want to live in a unit that's all on one level, you also have that opportunity as well. But it's also at a scale where it's not just the big buildings that you see, as Tom mentioned, on Main Street or the transit area. So we hope that you also see the balance that we're trying to create here, where working as not with just the design team, but with the city as well, to address, you saw that note about concern about flooding, being able to address that, and even create amenities while we're dealing with those type of environmental issues, but also, as Billy had mentioned too, creating these play spaces that are vibrant and that they do not have too much concrete, with the concerns that in the past of the broken glass, which or other things that can occur, which goes back to having safe places for children. With that, if anybody has any questions, we're open for questions.
Troy, this is Suzanne Purrier. I'm joining virtually, but can you help me refresh my memory about the bedroom sizes in these homes? Because a lot of the choices are driven, you know, by, I mean, if you need 4 or 5 bedrooms, you know, what are, you know, you're not going to get a 1 or 2 bedroom place. So can you help me figure out which ones of these are have 4 or 5 bedrooms?
You mean which of these building types?
Yeah. I mean, this is a good snapshot of them all. I mean, and I don't need for you to say this one has this many, but if you can give me a sense, is it these guys in the middle that are the big room? I thought they were the manor homes, but then when you said no, they were more like apartments. So help me out here, please.
Well, it will be twofold. So for the 4 bedrooms, you have the opportunity to do them in a townhouse configuration. So you see these types here, but also with each bedroom type, we also have to provide an accessible unit type. So with each of those types, you will also have the opportunity to do it in a flat or all on one level. Now, having said that, it can be this type of building that you see here.
Which type of building would that be? I can't see a cursor.
Oh, I'm sorry. So if you can see the yellow house,
yes,
which is 3 stories,
Yes,
So with that, even though it looks like a big townhouse,
right.
the ground floor actually has a side entry to it. And that's an accessible unit on the ground floor. And then you have multi-level or what we call stacked townhomes on top of that. So that's another building type that we have in our toolbox to be able to make sure that when you have a 4-bedroom, 5-bedroom, 3-bedroom, that you also have the opportunity to have an accessible unit for those bedroom types. The other one that Tom had mentioned earlier is also have what we were calling the bungalow. I'm gonna go back for you.
Right. That little tiny mother-in-law suite.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, actually, this is a good, like the yellow ones that you see here, or actually this one. So that's where the bungalows would come in as well. So it's just that it's being able to allow for that variety in the building types.
thanks.
What's the makeup, Troy? I'm gonna go further on Suzanne's question. For each category, how many families could fit in this design?
In this area here, John, if you can help me out for a second here, I want to say that because the total number of units is 710. And I believe that this is a makeup of approximately 400 units, if I remember correctly.
That's about right. And I don't have it off the top of my head right now. I can, I'll pull that up. We've got a full replacement housing plan that breaks this down block by block. And I think I shared it at the last meeting, but I can make sure that I get that to Steve so that he can share that.
That wasn't what you asked, though. No.
Troy, this is Dick Gresham. I like the mix of housing building types. My question, I realize that I may be naive as far as budget and other considerations. I'm wondering about the interaction between the street and the buildings as far as floodplain, whether they're going to be elevated more than the pictures you're showing. And those that are single family or that sort of approach, is there an opportunity for more usable front porches and perhaps a low fence so that children could be secure in their front yard and have a secure play area, and just have more outdoor rooms for the occupants to use? Have you all considered that? And is there any opportunity that maybe could be impressed on things?
Yeah. So the units that we're actually designing here, these are just some of the precedent pictures that we have, just to help start with facilitate the conversation. But I'll say at some point we'll be able to show you, as we're working on it, the design where you will have I'm sorry you can't see my cursor, but where you have.
We can hear in the building.
Okay, great. And so you'll see where you have the porches or the covered areas. So this is where we're looking at porches and balconies. I'll say with the building types, because that was one of the comments that we heard from the residents, and want to make sure that we address that. And then in terms of the relationship of the building to the street, this is where we are following the Norfolk standards of the guidelines of having the building as close to the street as possible. And so with that, this is where you will have a series of risers leading up to your unit in most cases, because the first floor, as you had mentioned, the first floor will be out of the floodplain. It will be at an elevation that's out of the floodplain. So we're following all of those regulations just to make sure that it's another way of, again, addressing this issue of people's concerns about flooding, in case there's one of these, tremendously unique events. Then we're prepared on that end as well. And then it's also, we just need to make sure that it's still accessible. We have those accessibility issues addressed. In terms of the outdoor yards, we believe that the townhouse types can lend itself to that type of use. This is where, if I can just go back to the plan for a second.
And Troy, if you're doing, this is John. I pulled up the actual replacement housing plan, and you're right. It's actually 380 households on this property. So what you're looking at right there, can you hop back one, Troy?
I wonder why it won't.
I know it never wants to work when you're trying to do it live.
It's frozen for.
Okay, so even on this one, it's a little bit faded, but so what you're looking, there you go. Either of these, 16. Okay, so basically everything on the right side of the screen here. So those 4 buildings at the top left, that's 19, 20, 17, and 18 if you're going clockwise starting at the top, right? So take those out. That's 330 units over there. And then when we cross the street, cross Church Street, that's 380 units. And that's a mix of 1s up to 5 bedrooms in the, sort of in the mix of building types that you see on the right-hand side there. So 330 on the western side of Church Street and 380 on the eastern side of Church Street. I sort of knew that off the top of my head, but I wanted to be precise.
Thanks, John. And then the other thing too, just to address the let's just say the play yard areas. So hopefully you can see with this plan, with the townhomes, or even within these blocks, you can see that you will have these internal spaces that can be utilized for really the private use. And then this is again the front area that we have here, where just one of the new urbanism principles of just having the separation of space. So given how the building will relate to the street, this is the semi-private area where people will be allowed to, come up, knock on your front door, conversate with you on your porch. But then you also have this rear yard area like you have with a traditional townhome, where if you just want to be able to have like a very small child be able to play in that area in your backyard, you have that opportunity too, or within the interior of the block. But then it's also, just as Tom had pointed out, this distribution of these open spaces here, just so that you still will be able to safely monitor these spaces. And you want to have them at a size that is manageable, if you will. And then you're also balancing it with what Billy talked about here, the tree save that you have along Mariner Street and along Holt Street as well.
And just to add on to that, one of the things, because this is a really important question that comes up over and over again, because this is a community, it's a neighborhood, right? And so it's families with children of different ages. So green space, where do kids play? Will they be able to play someplace where, I don't have to cross a busy intersection and those sorts of things? One of the things that we're working on as a design team right now is putting together what we're calling our green space amenity map. And we'll share that with the community. We can forward it. We can come back and present it to you all if you'd like. That will actually sort of show this whole plan the way you're looking at it without the buildings, right? So just show where are the different green spaces. Okay, if I've got an 8-year-old kid that I want to go out and kick a soccer ball with, here are the 2 or 3 areas within the neighborhood where we're going to have sort of that appropriate sort of size of green space. If I, maybe I live in one of the apartments, but I want to start a garden, where can I, as a community member, go and sort of sign up for a garden plot that I'd be able to have even though I live in an apartment? Oh, okay, well, here are the spaces where that sort of activity could be done within the plan. So that's one of the things that, just trying to be responsive to the questions that come up over and over again when we're having these meetings. We took it upon ourselves and said, we're going to put together, we don't have it ready yet. Now, one of the benefits of this design team, we hired the same landscape architect for the blocks 19 and 20, block 17, 18, as well as these Tidewater Gardens blocks. So they are very familiar with everything going on here in terms of green space. And we're doing it in a way where theoretically these things all work in concert, so that if you're a member of the community here, you feel like you've got a really broad array of green space amenities that are available to you.
John, this is Joe. I have a question about scalability. I understand what you're saying about green spaces, but every time we talk about it, I kind of feel like deja vu, because we had this conversation before, and Alfonso said something a few years ago that 6 will be the day when we were trying to build a stadium over in that area, and they wanted to fit a dog park out there. It's not a dog park, but it's very close. So we have a housing choice voucher list of thousands of families. What is the scalability of this project to remove a dog park or a soccer field to make sure that we have more families on the HCB having the opportunity to get in this community?
I
heard Troy say something earlier about scalability, and I know that's from a design standpoint. So what are the scalability options currently?
Okay, can you ask that a different way? I'm not sure I'm understanding your question. What are the
So right now you said there are 330 units on the west side, 380 units on the east side. That equals up to 710 units. Right now we have over almost 700 families in Tidewater Gardens. Currently, this board or in the city of Norfolk hasn't done a 1-for-1 housing promise, right? What is the scalability to make sure that we have more affordable housing in this community to the extent that we cut out a dog park or a soccer field of the 4 or 5 soccer fields that I see on it? So what Troy said something earlier about scalability. I hear it all the time, but what does that look like? How many homes, how many extra homes, or how far can we go up to make it a denser area?
So the C&I commitment is for 710 units, and that's a breakdown of I think it's let me get my numbers exactly right. It's in a mix of incomes, and what we've presented to HUD, what they've approved, is 226 of those being replacement units. Those are the subsidized voucher units, 232 of those being LIHTC units, and the rest 252 being market rate. And so that's the C&I commitment. That's what we've planned. That's what we're working toward financing. That's what's in the replacement housing plan. And that's not, we're not sort of saying, oh, let's take out housing units so that we can put in green space. We're trying to, within what we've committed to, make sure that there is a balance of both the housing and the green space. But I think beyond I almost feel like maybe the question, I don't know if Ron or Steve are in the room, maybe it almost.
Hey, John, I'm here. This is Steve. I'll start to address a little bit.
Okay.
So Joe, we have 710 units that are specifically part of the on-site plan. In addition to that, we have another 83 project-based vouchers, replacement units that are be doing off-site. We currently have one project in the mix for those out in the military highway area. There'll be others, and we do this through a RFP process, and others will be selected over this year and next year. And even in those projects, so I'm going to take one of those off-site projects. So the one that we've been working on is Riverside Station. We've got 23 PDVs as part of that project. There's another 100+ units being built in that development. All of those are low-income housing tax credit units that will accept vouchers. So in one sense, we count the 23 as part of that project, but we also have others. Now, when we look at this, what I fear is densification for the purposes of just housing families. That's what we have out there now. That's been part of the problems with some of our communities, is that you put a lot of people in, and then the community doesn't function very well. You have nowhere to park, a few green areas, and so yes, you get folks housed, but it's not really a great neighborhood. Part of what we're doing here is building a great neighborhood and then leveraging other sites. A project that is not counted as part of CNI at all, right across the street on Tidewater Drive, is the Market Heights apartment. So it doesn't factor into any of our numbers. We have 41 PDVs as part of that project, and again, 100 plus other units that accept vouchers. So to the extent that the NRHA leveraging our ability to provide project-based voucher units across the city, we are getting additional opportunities for our HCV families. So, we can go to the old cigar factory. That's another one being done by SL Nussbaum. Even in the immediate vicinity, we have the St. Paul's apartment. They do not count at all in here, but we have 9 PDVs in that project, and there's another 100 units that accept vouchers. So from that standpoint, we have been, prior to CNI coming on board, or coming online, or working forward, we started the PDV RFP process as a way to grow the amount of affordable units in the city of Norfolk, and continue to put that out as part of the CNI project. But there was a lot of actions, pre and now, that we're doing to grow the piece. The fear that we do have is, as that started this whole process with Tidewater Gardens, is 27 acres or 26 acres is basically floodland. And so what we're doing is the city, through their work, is recrafting that so that it's not just floodland, that it's actually a usable and beautiful park space that contributes to the neighborhood. Official numbers, we're returning as part of the on-site and off-site 541 assisted units and voucher units or LIHTC units, where our families from Tidewater will have first preference. Thank you, Steve. You're welcome.
Other comments, questions?
Suzanne,
John, this is Ken Donati. Will there be any additional community engagement coming up?
Yes, we have Oh, is that on me, or I thought the question was for me? This is John. Hey.
It is.
Okay, great. Yes, we have a couple of more community engagement sessions planned. What we've found is that it actually helps, like with Saturday, where we actually piggybacked onto the People First Block Party. I don't know that we would have gotten the response that we had gotten if we just had an event where it was just us showing boards of the design, but because people are already coming out for the block party, they happen to walk by our booth, and we could kind of pull them in and say, hey, let us show you what's going on and what we're working on. So we're trying to find dates where we can piggyback our community engagement, our next community engagement session, which would be that green space amenity mapping with a pre-existing session. And then the other thing is our plan right now is to go to ARB, the Architectural Review Board, on the 23rd, but we would be going for information only. And we're trying to find another community engagement session sometime around that time before we go to ARB for the formal approval request. As well, we also, and this we found out was actually very, very helpful with 1718, and it's sort of one of those things where, sometimes out of crisis, we really learn some things that are positive and helpful. With 1718 last year, we had no option to do the in-person, like we couldn't do the block party like we did on Saturday. So especially the city helped us allowed us to use their infrastructure on the web. We put the surveys, and everything you all are seeing is actually online right now, so people can log on and see this presentation. They can, fill out a survey, which we had at the block party. They can fill out that same survey online, and that was actually incredibly helpful with 1718 during the community engagement process. So interestingly enough, community engagement, sort of looks different in 2021 than we've traditionally seen it. And I think it's a good thing. I think it allows us to, get a broader range of feedback.
John, I don't know if my question is for you. It's certainly for this presentation. Excuse me, my concern is of a more global sense as it relates to our largest community. And I think that's the reason that Joe referenced what he did about the dog park, because I think it's the reason we keep getting tagged all the time about planning as it relates to the participation of the community. And it seems as though we bring a concept with us before we even get to the community to start discussing design and plans and space usage and space allocation and that kind of thing. And then we just kind of work them backwards till they get to where we are with what the plan is. And I think what I'm kind of seeing now really kind of supports that level of thinking. And I know that that doesn't, that's not in a lot of the people in the room this morning, that's not in their interest and concerns. But if you're involved in a larger discussion about our city, our community, and how we plan these things, how we do these things, and what the value is in a more global sense as it relates to resident participation, distribution of housing, distribution of low-income housing, how we kind of spread and allocate housing trust vouchers, economic inclusion. If you're involved in those kind of conversations, as I am, and a couple of others in this room, then you kind of see why we keep failing at this. And again, John, I know this is not your concern. Well, certainly not your in your box. But I just think that this speaks very loudly to why we keep getting hit over the head with our process. Ken had a great idea, and I think it was almost bordered on being brilliant when he talked about this quote unquote reset. Certainly has potential to help quell violence in our communities, to help bring the community along in a more positive vein and way of how we design, develop, and include various things. This is certainly something to continue to help them get on board with and around, but not if we keep involving them after the fact. And I know that's not the intent, but certainly that's what I just heard. And so, again, not your solvable, John, not your solvable, Steve, certainly not Bill Milligan's son solvable, but it is, should be on our shoulders in this room. We got to find a way to, deal with this issue, and we're going to end up the same place we're always end up. And it seems that nobody kind of sees it. I guess maybe when you're down in the middle of planning it, you can't see it. Seems that when you kind of raise your head up a little bit, you can't see it. But we see it, and we really have to find a way to work through this I guess I'm speaking to my chair now, this kind of stuff, good job, let me say that, of planning, but the kind of opportunity that it leaves us for community engagement. You know, this is an all-day supper for real, you know, and we're not, you know, we gotta find a way to get a handle on this.
So with I guess the planning process, I mean, again, and they, I think Troy opened, you know, from the, you know, with the beginning slide is, you know, this has been a long process. And so the original, I would say the original overall concept planning started back in 2005, and really through 2005 through 2014, you know, the overall concepts of what the community should be, which set out really some of the overall sort of global features. One, you know, probably the biggest thing that was brought to the table to talk about the mixed income community and how that was sort of going to be an overreaching item in order to get to a more workable community, sort of getting the different income types in, much as we were looking to do with Broad Creek, and so using the same concepts that came out of Broad Creek. The other aspects from there is there was a lot of work again early on in talking with residents, and we struggle with it throughout the entire process because you're only given sort of a limited box to play in, right? And so in that box, we have to deal with the flooding, which was a big item, the infrastructure that's necessary to get folks around, and then essentially addressing the needs of the different families. You always want to, you know, it's not one size fits all. You know, if it was one building type, that you know, that's easy, but it's really not. And really back in the 2010, you know, era, you know, the feedback that we were getting from families is kind of still what we're seeing today, which is a combination of apartment buildings, elevator buildings, fine, but a lot of folks saying we want the lower densities. We had a lot of comments about front and back doors, you know, trying to, you know, respect as much as possible with the families and having good places for the families to live in. And so the design team, what you're seeing here is the sort of final culmination of then actually designing the building. But the overall, I think, community concept is really teased out of the conversations that have occurred since 2005. Highlight some of the planning processes. We do. You are absolutely right. We, as a planner, we will bring concepts to the community to see, test them out. I hope Raytron pops back in the room, because I can tell you one we did out in Grandy Village. So we had a concept design to go out to Grandy Village and build a three-story, maybe four-story mid-rise senior building. We went out to Grandy Village on that saying, hey, you know, we even had some preliminary concept drawings done. Like, hey, you know, it wants to be great, overlook the Elizabeth River. And the community said, no, that's not what we need. The seniors there were like, no, we want to have more of a lower density. We want front and back doors. We want to have more of a townhouse feel. We want to have more, you know, where, you know, it's more neighborly, more, you know, visitors getting around. And so we brought a concept, scrapped it, and came back and redesigned the community.
But you lose credibility, Steve, and I'm glad you said it, but you lose credibility when you can't bring that resident input with you. We've gone now 15 years, 16, and while you can bring the history of it with you, you can't bring the resident support, buy-in, participation. You can't bring it with you because we don't nurture it. We don't build momentum with it. We don't design processes to keep them engaged along the way. We kind of do it as a box checker almost, you know. We did that in 2009. We did that. So I guess at some point we get left now with sort of a messaging dilemma because you know, it's after the fact, so to speak. Not totally. I mean,
No, and I actually agree with what you're saying there. You're right, is that after you get down, start getting to the final details, it does become, let's go and, more of the base concept and, that the designs are more finalized, and then you're getting the final touches. I would say is that this is where COVID definitely hurt us, because pre-COVID, we had monthly meetings with the residents where concepts can be brought, get feedback. I won't always say that we got great feedback. I won't say that we always got great feedback at some of those meetings, but we did have more of an absolute hands-on. I would say as John was alluding to, for the block 17 and 18, because of COVID, we didn't have that in-person ability. And so they did an online presence. And we had more feedback and more surveys than we've ever received on any of the projects. I thought the event on Saturday was fantastic. The residents, engaging in the images that you're seeing here and providing that feedback. That's the little thing. It's little comments at those meetings that can translate into a design change or a really direction change on certain items. So it's always going to be a lot of give and take in this final design process. Certainly, we look for the residents for the amenity packages, things that they're looking for, the key items. The overall sort of feel of the community, the overall density of the community, that's been set. We only have a certain amount in the sandbox that we can play with there, and we've got a lot of things to accomplish. But I think from the planning standpoint, we've listened to the residents, and I think we are checking all the boxes, what the families were looking for, and we're trying to get there. I want to make one final comment just to show how it continues on. So there's, working on the people side, there's this constant, we're always asking, who's going to return? Who's going to return? A big part of who's going to return is also determining okay, you're going to return, what are your needs? Do you need 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 bedroom unit? Do you need an ADA unit? What are you looking for? And so that filters back into the design process too. So if we need more 5, then we have to adjust and provide those. If we need less, then we adjust and provide, less. So it's a constant give and take in the design process and working with the family. Sometimes it doesn't look like it's a planning exercise. Because that is not being handled by the architect. That's being handled by a USI staffer asking the resident, do you want to return and what are your needs? And getting that information and filtering that back. But even in that sense, we're getting feedback from the residents of what they're looking for in the community.
I always had a great respect for planners because what you do is impossible to me, right? But also in my profession, like, planners are planners. They're going to make it done. They're going to make it happen. But you do have some, I would say, like politicians and leaders and commissioners like Alfonso, people sitting around here, where we just don't take no for no. So when you say density is set and the sandbox is set already, to me, it's conflicting because, of course, you guys deal with HUD and career staffers. But Ben Carson is gone. Marcia Fudge is there. And some of us have connections with that office. So if one of us say, it should be some type of scalability to this thing. It could be. It's not set. From career staffers, it sets for who you dealt with over 20 years in HUD. Yes, maybe under Ben Carson, but now it's not. And my biggest fear is, I'm going to read a quote that I read earlier. If this plan is designed for the community of Tidewater Gardens, right? Why are we saying we had to restitch Tidewater Gardens back into the larger neighborhood? When you rebuild something, it should be Tidewater Gardens, right? We're going to rebuild Tidewater Gardens and include the larger neighborhood into the Tidewater Gardens plan. But if we build this neighborhood as planners and then have to go back and restitch to make sure that Tidewater Gardens is involved, how is that Tidewater Gardens plan? That's my biggest fear. And one of you guys said it, I'm not sure if it was Troy, someone, and words mean everything to me. Jennifer could tell you that because every meeting I come to, it's marketing, words mean something. So if you're restitching Tidewater Gardens back into the larger neighborhood, how is this Tidewater Gardens plan of the community? If you're restitching it to a planner's dream of what St. Paul's supposed to look like. And that's more of a comment than a question.
Sure. I mean, it's a good comment. And again, I think one of the things when we talk about restitching or reconnection is, I think, the term or the phrase that has been sort of a driver and part of the overall planning effort. Again, this goes back to 2005 to 2014, a reconnection of Tidewater into the downtown area. And, you know, a little bit different now, but 10 years ago, Downtown Plaza was still over there, and it's back face Tidewater. Tidewater was effectively cut off from downtown by a shopping center that, you know, right where, you know, where, however it happened, you know, essentially had that's gone. So about reconnection, it's pulling Freemason Street over at a new light and into this area and connecting it all the way to Tidewater Drive, reconfiguring Church Street so that it you know, essentially terminates it, you know, at St. Mary's and making that prominent. It's literally setting the stage so that you are now, it's all connection. It's, you know, that there's no longer these absolute breaks. You know, St. Paul's Boulevard isn't the sea of traffic, you know, hard to penetrate, you know, from one side to the other anymore, because now we have a clear connection with, you know, a new Freemason Street coming over. Things of that nature. Again, it is subtle, but the comment goes, you know, 15 years ago about, hey, this community is not connected, that we've got these barriers in place. And so the architects, the designers, the planners start to think about, well, how do we change that? You know, comments from the community, you know, again, slight ones. St. Mary's in the is a prominent place, and so is the Martin Luther King Memorial. How can we get some grander connection with that? Can we talk about the history? And that's where you start talking about the realignment of Church Street, you know, where Ben Church is sort of a, you know, becomes like a dead end, sort of a dead street. You now, you know, create this and prominence. So perhaps we're not doing great in our messaging and how we convey how we're turning sort of the comments and the thought process from the community and the residents into the broader plan, but they really do filter into the broader plan.
Other comments? Well, I think the discussion's been very broad, and there are a number of issues that we will need to focus on, particularly the messaging part, as well as I think as Alfonso and Joe talked about, making sure that the community is involved, not just in checking the box that we talked to them about this, but that their input is used to fashion how we move forward. I think that's going to be very important. So, gentlemen, thank you very much. Good luck in the future.
Thanks, John.
Thank you all. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, John, are you still there?
Yes, sir.
You got it.
I'm here. Mr.
I got a real good update from Delfino
Okay.
a couple days ago.
Okay. On the
Just wanted you to know that.
Yep. Okay. Good. And we have our nose to the grindstone, as they say. We are working on that. Because if nothing else, Mr. Albert, I do not want to have another difficult conversation with you over lunch.
Thank you, sir.
You know, I always appreciate you, but those conversations,
Absolutely.
Hey, listen, you keep me accountable.
Thank you,
How's
John.
that? Okay, take
All
care.
right.
All right, bye-bye.
Okay. I think next on our agenda is Ms. Smith.
Number 4.2, are there comments on the report?
Oh,
This was going on for 1, Good morning.
Good morning.
do we have any comments on the development activities report? I'm sorry. That are in your packet? All right, hearing none. Ms. Smith, and this is on page 30 of your packet.
Good morning again.
Hey.
Good morning.
So I am before you to discuss or present the Hampton Road Ventures application that we are requesting funding for our 2021-2022 program year. Norfolk Redevelopment is submitting a request for about $700,000 in funding for Hampton Roads Venture Funds, or requesting permission to submit a funding request for $700,000 from Hampton Roads Ventures. This is our immediate response and preparation to prepare for the reopening after the major events that have occurred due to the pandemic. You'll see some continuation and some strengthening of some programs as it relates to adult workforce development, youth services, community engagement. Commissioner Dillard stepped out, but I will definitely address his comment. I did hear it earlier, as well as some new training and staff dedication to staff training as well.
I think that's the point over here.
When I call my kid down the stairs and come turn the channel. So the funding breakdown looks a little like this in its current or proposed state. We are requesting roughly about $100,000 under adult workforce development. I'll go into some specifics in the next couple of slides under each category. $201,600 under the youth program. Community engagement is roughly about $58,400. Community improvement, $315,000, and staff training at $25,000. We'll discuss, like I said, some more specifics and how these complement and support each other. Adult workforce development, we've seen some great successes in our out-of-school youth program. This is a program that is funded by, their name, I forgot, Hampton Roads Community Ventures, formerly Opportunity, excuse me. And what we wanted to do was create some opportunities for some of our adults to experience this. Some of the successes in on-the-job training mean that we are asking some employers to provide our residents with training, and we will pay the stipend for them, similar to what we do for our youth in our out-of-school youth program. So we're hoping to launch a small pilot for an on-the-job training program, which will hopefully allow us to secure some of the outcomes and experience that we need to apply for some more adult workforce-based grants and initiatives.
Like 10 or 20 people? That's
Yeah,
some of that.
very small number, yeah. Okay. And it won't be, the OSY program allows you to be in there for roughly about 2 years. We've had some that have extended that time. They can work, they can go to a number of different trainings and certifications and things like that, but we would look at a smaller condensed program just to maximize funding under that as well. That also would include, like I said, some vocational training aspects. Stopgap childcare subsidies, we've seen this definitely, especially at the start of the pandemic. We paid for a lot of childcare subsidies through our local partners, just as some industries just didn't stop. Essential workers still had to go to work despite their childcare closing. So some of our families were confronted with having to send their children to new or different facilities that remained open. So we would like to continue that as a primary focus. Transportation. Should put that in capitals and bold. We know that this will be a big budget item for us. We are working with some community partners to hopefully bring some opportunities in the hospitality industry, which means our residents will have to travel farther without NRHA's form of supportive transportation. So we're looking at some creative options, hopefully some Uber accounts, rideshare programs, and things like that. We do think that this is an opportunity to really hone in on and challenge us as human service and case managers to promote some level of self-sufficiency for our residents. So we're getting a little skilled at teaching how to ride on the bus and how to navigate certain other Uber accounts for seniors with ridicule, especially as they start to navigate rides to get vaccinated or testing and stuff like that. IDs, birth certificates, equipment and goods needed for specialized careers, NRHA hosted employment fairs. We love our model. We would like to put some skin in the game under HRB and continue to go with our model. As a reminder, we bring employers to the table first. We have them speak to our residents about their industry, their growth, their expectations. We have a hard and precise conversation about do's and don'ts, what will quickly get you hired, as well as what will quickly get you fired, spoken from the employer, not from us. And then that employer always agrees to come back within a certain period of time, usually within about a 3 to 4 week period of time, and offer on the spot interviews for our residents that they've applied for these opportunities. FSS Return to Work Initiative. FSS is grant funded, funded for case management, but this allows them to have some funding for themselves to support their caseload in returning to work. And Connect Home Digital Inclusion. We saw some great successes with expansion of Wi-Fi, but we're not in every home. There's some opportunities through Cost Connect and Compete that we're continuing to capitalize on, and we'd like to continue to do that for our adults and youth as they venture on. Youth programs represents roughly about 29% of this funding request. It covers staff salaries, a portion of our youth program manager's salary, as well as full coverage of our youth program coordinator salary and fringe. This also covers initiatives related to youth discovery programs. We would like to start getting them out and about again, taking them to on field trips and our Youth Recreation Connect. We've seen some interest in that, especially as the city announced the reopening of the rec center. So that is where we pay for recreation cards, swimming lessons through the aquatic center, those types of things. Summer camp enrollment. We did not use as much of this funding as we had hoped to this year. Transportation continues to be a big barrier for many of our households that would benefit from this, but we have, these programs have secured a motor pool vehicle, a van, a small van. It won't transport all of the many thousands of our youth residents that we have, but it will allow us to kind of capitalize on some other opportunities and get our youth to and from some of these initiatives. College Here We Come. They've had some good success. I think I spoke before, we love our virtual college tours. It allows us to go from North Carolina to Maryland to Norfolk State and Hampton all in one day. And the youth seem to really be liking this experience. It allows them to see multiple places and then hone in on where they would really like to physically go. So youth after school STEM programs, youth work experience programs, address transportation. That's the line item that will allow us some bus tickets, as well as the leasing agreement for the motor pool vehicle that we've been able to secure, and our youth venturing program. We would like to explore some partnerships with some community providers to explore youth mentoring programs.
Can you just touch on some of the items? I know the last item, we ran a little long, so if you could just, like in each category, just touch on a few, because I know with the,
Definitely.
like I said, the other.
I'll speed it up.
Okay.
All right, community engagement. I did want to address Commissioner Diller's comment about incorporating some community safety and engagement opportunities under community engagement. It is the smallest funded, proposed funded category at just 8% of the total represented cost. These were kind of ongoing initiatives in partnership with our security programs, but I will challenge my staff as well as speak with Ms. Mills and Ms. Thomas and Ms. Rose. I like collective impact and no wrong door. I think that community safety and engagement is something that we should go back to each one of these categories and figure out how to incorporate it under these programs, under adult workforce development, not just solely responsibility of that one funding line item. So I received your challenge, and I will definitely go back to the table and respond. community improvement, smoke-free shelters, security at the Envision Center, some scholarship opportunities. This also allows us to continue with the Goodwill Fund that helps us to respond and provide some emergency resources to some of the communities or residents who are affected due to no fault of their own. And community beautification initiatives. We've always wanted to kind of step that up, porch to porch, house to house, and launch some community beautification initiatives. Staff training we're requesting about $25,000. This funding item really allows us to do some cross-training. Staff who wouldn't normally receive certain training like RAD training or HDB training or rent calculation, they would be afforded the opportunity to do so given this funding. And it is also a great look for the organization as it relates to succession planning. So staff training is still an option on the table for this grant. I think, look how fast I can get out of here. Are there any questions, comments?
I got a comment. That's a lot of dough, 700,000 HRB. Finally register how impactful that program is for us. But I look at all you're trying to do with 700 grand. Man, that's a lot.
We do it. We've been successful throughout the pandemic on our last allocation of about $600,000. So we will not return any of these funds. They did get spent.
Ron, will there be a transmittal for you that goes with this request? Has this gone already?
No, no.
But yeah.
Sorry, so that will work budget back.
All right. Jennifer and I are having lunch today, that's why I asked, has it gone already? But there'll be a transmittal for you. Okay. Yeah.
Like I said, I think those folks are really appreciative of the kinds of things you put in here. And again, I think the number one was the transportation that folks really relied on, and a number of things that stopped because there was no funds for that. So really appreciate it. Do we need to thumbs up, thumbs down?
No.
Have a nice day.
Yeah, I think this is a part of what we have historically been doing.
Yeah.
You know, that just HRB has been providing funding for things like that, just a matter of annual budget.
Well, again, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank
Good
you.
luck in the future.
Thank you.
I'll be back.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Now, we have a couple of other things with the communications, government relations, any of those things? Yeah. Any on the committee notes? Okay, if not, I will now open the meeting for public comment. Virtual participants, if you would like to state your comment, please click on the raise hand icon on your screen and you will be called upon. You can also type a comment into the question box on your screen as well. When you are called upon, please address the virtual room by stating your first and last name, address, and then your comment. Please know that questions asked during this time may not be responded to, but will instead make arrangements to follow up with staff who have the ability to address your question. Do we have anyone?
Yes, sir. We have one caller on the line by the name of Concerned Citizen. They have their hand raised. I know we do ask for that person to state their name, but their name is not clearly outlined here.
Okay.
So you may want to ask them once we open the line.
All right.
But caller, your line is unmuted. Please unmute yourself and state your name and comment.
Hi, my name is Mo. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry,
So,
we didn't catch your name. Can you please repeat your name?
It's Mo. Mo.
All right,
like,
go ahead.
Okay.
mold?
Yeah, so I was listening earlier, and in terms of the smoke detectors that you mentioned, y'all staff is responsible for the fire safety of residents. Y'all are also the folks with the ladders to safely change the batteries with less risk of injury to the residents. Additionally, everyone here and everyone there is aware of the mold issue in Tidewater Gardens as well as other neighborhoods. And y'all should be ashamed to sit here and say it was mischaracterized while people and their children are sick. I'm really unsure of how you all rest talking about the concerns of your staffs when residents have actual issues in their homes. Additionally, someone who sits in these meetings on a monthly basis has been to the home of that woman and seen the damage. If there's no problem, then why waste city dollars to put humidifiers in the bathrooms of the units if this is mischaracterized? And Ms. Mills, if the staff is working so hard, why are there comedy skits of your staff using vacant units to crack jokes about roaches, but their feelings are hurt? Commissioners, how about instead of calling the residents liars, you actually have maintenance do their jobs instead of hiding behind bushes and golf carts, as many residents have submitted pictures of them doing? That's my entire comment. Thank you for your time.
All right. Is there anyone else on the line?
We do not have any additional hands raised, but I will check the lobby, and I do know that Mr. Raytron
Right.
does have a comment as well.
All right, while you're doing that, Raytron, would you like to come up?
Sure.
Oh, good morning.
Again,
Name
name and address.
Raytron White, the muffins and some Chick-fil-A burger. My name is Raytron White. I'm TMC president of Grady Village for the last 11 years. I came to talk about some things in our neighborhood and some things that we have asked the agency to do. But this morning I'm sitting here listening to some of the things. I'm very appalled, very disturbed about some things that have been said about what the staff is doing in NRHA. I know we've been through a pandemic, and we have never seen this before. But at the end of the day, the residents are our number one, should be our number one priority in the community. 2020, I don't know what NRHA was doing, but we have the service. If I had to score this agency, it would have been about 2. We had a meeting 2 weeks ago, commissioners, and I talked to Mr. Jackson and I asked him to come. Me and the TNT board said we never get recognized for anything that we do. Nothing that we do. And it's unfortunate that we work hard to make sure what I know I do for my community, keep it safe much as I know how. And not going and get partners that did this and did that. There's always a recognition of the staff and what they have done. If I had to rate them, it would be a 2. Mr. Jackson, I asked him, he called me, so I couldn't get you, I apologize for that. But some things we asked, and the concern and the comments, we're working on it. Ms. Mills, we asked her, we're working on it. I asked 4 years ago, almost 5. I need to see the recommendation of how the rec center and NRHA has gotten agreement. I need to see that. Have not seen it in 5 years. Have not come with not one word of saying, this is what we have an agreement to. Our center has been down almost 2 years now. They're opening up centers, but their granted business are not open. They're not opening at all. And some things were asked for, even Ms. Virginia Mack, about some ways that we're doing business at getting our stipends a month or our budget a month, just to do some things. I haven't got a straight answer from that committee at all. I got Mrs. Ela called and told me that they want to extend the way they do business. We have not got any partnerships, things we've asked NRHA for to partnership with us. We cannot get a straight answer, a complete answer, why and why cannot. It has to go through, we're working on it. And it should not be that way. And the second point is, I don't know how we're constructing business, Mr. Jackson, when you have your staff talking to residents, being racist and being disrespectful to residents in Hampton Roads. It has to stop today, because we're going to get tired of people talking to us any kind of way when we're trying to do things in our community the right way. We had an event about 3 weeks ago in Dickstown. Young lady, Mrs. Kendra, she's working there, she wanted to come today. Ms. Kendra Parker, she had an event with 2 residents, 2 neighborhoods together. She just recently had a heart attack. She got out of her bed to do some things to make sure her community stays together. Only one person from NRHA came out to support her. She had to fight for a check almost 2 or 3 weeks afterwards when she put her money, her own personal money, on the line. We have no, the connection between the agency and the TMCs and ACs has been to a zero. We cannot afford this anymore. I mean, we're talking this game. This morning, this is about 5 years old, 4 years old, and it's still up. Where are the community people? Where are we at in this program? We have not, we've been shuttled out. We're working on it, this and that, that and that. And it should be that way. We should be a partnership. We are the core of our residents. The accident happened in Diggstown. NRHA paid the city of Norfolk Police Department money. I don't know how much they pay them. Why do we have to? Granny Beach does not have a CRO officer. We do not have one the last 2 years. The young man left. And then Mr. Dixon went to another department. We do not have one. It should happen. If you want to ask a question and want to find out what's going on in the community, ask the civic leaders. We know what's in our community. Have a meeting with us. It should never happen out there at Dickstown. And then NRHA don't know what's going on. The news knew before the agency knew what was going on. Who do we have? Is Ms. Karen Rose here today? I heard she's on vacation. It has to be something, Commissioner. We're going to lose everything we built. And NRHA has done great things. But the core of the matter is this pandemic, like it took us to a storm that we can't almost bounce back from it. The community, we are trying. We're trying. There's no security in the senior home. We asked about that. No one has called the senior lady about it. No one told them anything about security coming back or winter coming. I don't understand. We have to realize, and you all health commissioners, it could be your mother, it could be your aunt, it could be your sister in one of the high rises, and we don't have any protection for them. And I'm just scared that we're going to lose everything we have built and try to do. The TMCs are tired. Two of the neighborhoods don't have a TMC person. We're trying to work to help them out, and it's a conflict of that. They don't even want us to help the other TMC. That tells us the agency want us to fail. Mr. Jackson, this cannot go on anymore. We're trying the best we know how to do things, and we can't get a straight answer from the agency. I've asked Ms. Smith tons of times of stuff to do. Mr. White, we're working on it. Well, how many times are you going to work on it? And I just seen what Mrs. Smith sent us all the budget from last year. It's a lot of stuff that we do in our, the TMCs has done. We don't get no recognition of it at all. And we're trying to help the youth. I want to know when they're helping it because I help my youth all the time. We're working on it. When is it going to be done? Commissioners, we cannot. I think if we keep going, it'll be more than BET coming to visit us. This is a great city. It's a great city. A great city. And our youth want to do some things. But our hands are tied. We've asked, we'll see, we'll work on it. And it needs to be done. I mean, people of all last year had more vacation in NRHA that they don't have to go back no more until they retire. People are home, out of town, working around town. Well, we're still suffering in the neighborhood. We've asked questions, asked about this. And Granny is really suffering with this Ohio Creek and all, but we're trying to maintain. One lady was, she got this week, was stuck on Friday. Couldn't get out, was going to lose her job. Called the city and said, well, if she loses her job, well, she must have supposed to have a job in the first place. How are they talking to the residents like that? We're just trying to work. We're just trying to make what we need to do to be citizens in this neighborhood, in this city. But we have no support. None. Mr. Jackson called me back, but questions, we're going to work on it. I want to see some answers. We've done everything with the asked us to do. Everything we asked us to do. Report this, that. And we still, when we ask for things, we can't get a good response or say, well, we're going to try it, we're going to do it. And it's not right. It's not right. They talk to us any kind of way. I had questions about stuff in my office. Mr. Dale talked to me like I was an imbecile. And then hung the phone up on me. How long since I've been in my office? Over a year. It kept ringing. There was no problem to come fix it 1 second from the fix it. He talked to me like I was an imbecile. And they think because we're just TMC, because we don't have any say-so, we're under what they want us to do. No, we're partnerships. You shouldn't have to talk to us like that. It should not talk. You put a letter out a couple of months ago, about 8-9 months ago, about the racism. It still goes on in NRHA, and we're not going to stand for it anymore. I'm just hurt somebody's gonna say something about it's gonna be a tragedy. That this is enough is enough. The agency is enough is enough. We tried all we could do. We have nobody supporting us at all. And we're tired of it. We've done everything before you got here, man. And when you leave, we'll still do the thing. But we have had some support from the agency to listen, we're gonna work with you hand in hand. It was a shame that she had to go to Dickstown. That young lady did all that work. The neighborhoods got together, had a nice time out there. Not one person came out there, never Mr. Julius Jackson and Mr. Julius Norman, for 1 hour. She had it from 2 to 6 by herself and her staff. Not one person from the agency came out. And that's not right. If we're gonna do this together, we're gonna walk hand in hand and let the people know that we can do it. We need to do it. We used to do it. We used to have stuff. We used to have the people come out and help us. You know, like we're diseased or something. You know what I mean? It's just not right. And I'm gonna come every month. I gotta come every month and see if we can get some kind of resolving of how we can be partnerships, really partnerships in this agency together. Because I love NRHA and the residents want to love it back. But if we keep doing this, we'll never get stuff here. We'll never get stuff here. So I hope you commissioners listen and try to, we're so sick of her listening, and we're working on it. That should be the word. It should be, we got it done. We're doing it. What else you want us to do? It's sad. It's sad. People know.
I think your frustration is coming through right from.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. And I hurt real bad. I hurt because our neighbors will lose our children. We have staff here that want to go home, and their favorite word is, I can't wait till I retire. Retire now. We're hurting. Kids are dying every day. There's no security in places. We have places that they can go to. The rec center saved my life, man. It saved my life. I could have been dead or in jail because I have a rec center I can relate to and have ideas and work with my family and my neighbors. To this day, I'm staying here. That's why I have not moved from my neighborhood, because I know what the kids need. We have new kids. Now I've learned them. They just want somebody to love them and have somewhere to do. They're on top of a mountain out there in the neighborhood, riding their bikes. There's nothing to do. We have programs that in the news came the other day that NRHA is doing summer programs. When your residents don't know about that. It's all in the news, like anybody can come out there to do in Oakley Forest and Calvert Square. When's the residents of other neighborhoods going? It's probably NRHA gonna know about that. It was on the local news 2 nights ago. I don't know what we're gonna do. We are just lost.
Mr. Chair, Raytron called me about frustrated over some of the things that he indicated that they have been requesting over and over and over again. And I told him, make your request known to us.
Yeah.
No, if you get frustrated, you let us hear firsthand what your frustration is and what it is you've been requesting. So
I've been nice. I've been trying. I can't even come dressed nice to make sure that that y'all know we're serious about what we're doing. If not next month, I'm bringing the rest of them. I don't mind them talking to me, the rest of the ACs and CNCs. They're frustrated. Ms. Kendra Parker don't want to do nothing else at all with the community because how she was treated by that check, and no one showed to support her. I mean, how can we work like this?
Thank you, Trey.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any comments? Ms. Moore, do we have anyone else?
We do not have anyone online, nor do we have anyone in the lobby.
Okay. Ms. Carnes, we're now moving into any comments on the rest of the agenda, which has the committee report. Oh, I did? Now we get over. Then again, I think what we'll do is we'll move on into our closed session. Yes, please.
Be it resolved that the authority will convene in a closed meeting pursuant to the Virginia Freedom of Information Act as amended, the Act, to discuss the following matters which are specifically exempted from public disclosure by the code sections referred to below. Consultation with the authority's legal counsel regarding probable litigation requiring the provision of legal advice of counsel as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A7 of the Act. Personnel matters involving the assignment, appointment, demotion, promotion, performance, salaries, or resignation of employees of the authority as authorized by Section 2.2-3711 3711A1 of the act.
May I have a motion?
Second.
Mr. Albert?
Aye.
Ms. Harrington?
Aye.
Mr. Gresham?
Aye.
Mr. Dillard? Ms. Courier?
Aye.
Mr. Benassi?
Aye.
Mr. Mitashi?
Aye. As normal, we'll take about 5 minutes, maybe longer if you have to go down to the 12th floor. And with the caution that you are not to discuss any business during this time until we reconvene. All right, and we'll take about a 5-minute break before we move into closed session. We're still on your phone.
Yeah.
Okay. We're ready to come out of closed session. Oh, you are? Oh, you can stay on if you want. Yeah, Jen says you can stay on. We actually hear you better here. Suzanne? Yeah, I'm good. Please stay on. Yes, please stay on. Okay. Whereas the authority has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative supported vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act, and whereas Section 2.2-3712D of the 1950 Code of Virginia, as amended, requires a certification by this authority that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now, therefore, upon motion duly made and seconded, be it resolved that the authority hereby certifies that to the best of each commissioner's knowledge, one, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed meeting, and two, only such public business matters as were identified in the motion convening the closed meeting were heard, discussed, or considered by the authority.
May I have a motion?
Second.
Ms. Arrington? Aye. Mr. Dillard?
Aye.
Ms. Purrier? Aye. Mr. Benassi?
Aye.
Mr. Musacchio?
Aye. Okay, with that, we have one final thing on the agenda, and that is Board of Commissioner updates. Any updates?
No.
No, and you have the meetings of the future committee meetings and everything? Jen, anyone still on the line?
We do have some folks still tuning in, but no one has their hand raised.
Then I will call the July Board of Commissioners meeting to a close.
Very good. Thank you.